Hey there, Global here, presenting part 2 of our 001 networking co-op tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to actually start working in the software, starting with creating a new project. I'm going to use a blank template and just call this one 001 Online Tutorial. So there's a few things I need to set up, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. First, I'll go into the game settings and set the resolution lower to 400 by 300. This is just for testing, so I can have 3 or 4 windows open at once and not have to worry about resizing them. Also make sure freeze game when game loses focus is unchecked. This is an online game, so we don't want it to freeze even when running in the background. Next, I'll make a few interfaces. I'll call this first one Connect. This will be the first interface the player sees when they launch the game. There will be a couple fields the player can select. This one will be Host Game. I'm going to have it aligned to the center, make it selectable, change its text value to host game, and change the visual setting to text so that it turns red when selected. I'll copy the first field and make another one called Join Game. I need to make another interface. I'll call this one Enter Password, and I don't need any fields in this one. I need one more interface, and I'll call this one Waiting for Guest. With 2 fields. One that will show Waiting for Friend to join. This one doesn't need to be selectable. And I'll make another field that will show a password to give your friend called Password. There are a few global variables I want to add. The first one is server IP. We'll use this one to store and reference the IP address or host name of the server. For testing, we'll set this to 127.0.0.1, otherwise known as the loopback address, which means it points back to itself. We'll also make another global variable called server port. This serves as the TCP/UDP port that the server will be using to send and receive network packets. For testing, we're going to use 1234, but in practice you want to set this to something different. You'll have to do some research to see which ports aren't officially reserved. I think the 001 MMO template uses 14444. The last variable will be online password. This is just for storing the password that gets generated on the server and sent to the client. I will be adding one switch called hosting and set it to off by default, and one collection called online sessions and leave it empty. This will be for storing passwords and client IDs for the players playing together. Some of you might think tables would work better for storing this stuff, and you're probably right, but I still prefer collections over tables, so I'm going to go with collections. So next, we need a sprite for the players. I'm just going to make a 32 by 32 pixel square. And make sure the collision is accurate. Now I'm going to make 2 players. I probably don't need to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and make an actor template for the player. It'll be a child of actor. And I'll check allow changes in placed actors. I'll name the first one host. Use the player actor template. Also change its scripting ID to host, change speed to 10, and I'll use the color blue for the host. I'll also create a second player for the guest, and this is very important. You need to change the player field so the host is player 1 and guest is player 2. If these are both the same number, then the guest will follow the host and you won't be able to control them or sync their movement very well. So I'll make the same changes to the guest, but I'll set its color to red. Now I need a simple tile set to make a simple map. This is going to be a side scroller where you can walk left and right and jump, so the tile sets need to use the lower object layer, and we'll just make a simple green cube that will be the ground. Now we can make a test map. And we'll be using the front view. And I'll make it smaller, like 6x and 8z. And I'll add some grass to it. One more thing I need to prepare. I just need to add the controls. For each control, it needs to move a player, and the way it determines which player to control is by using the hosting switch we set up a moment ago. So we'll use a switch condition. If hosting is on, it will return the host actor, else it will return the guest actor. I'll repeat the same steps on all the controls. Alright, now let's test it. Alright, the prep work is done. So for a network game, the first thing we need to do is configure the server to host. So in the introduction trigger, we're going to add a comparison branch and we're going to check to see if this is the server, because this trigger is also going off for both the clients and the server. So if this is true, if this script is executed on the server, we'll run the host game server event. And we'll use the server IP and server port variables we made earlier. Now we have the server hosting, but we need the clients to connect, so we're going to be using the connect to game server event with the same variables from before. So on this event, there are two branches. The one on the left triggers when you successfully connect to the server, and the branch on the right triggers when the connection fails. Just for testing, we'll display a message box to show if we connected or if it failed to connect. We can also go into the lost connection system trigger and put a message box in here as well. We can test it now, but we need to make one final adjustment to the testing options first. By default, launch instances for network games will be set to 1. When you make this 2 or greater, it will launch multiple windows for the different instances of the game. Let's set this to 2 for now. Alright, now we can test the game. And it looks like it did connect. You can tell this one's the server because it's labeled on the border of the window. When we close the client, it triggers the disconnected message box on the server. So that's it for this one. In the next video, I'll be covering establishing online sessions. So like the video if you're feeling generous, and subscribe if you want to see more of these 111 tutorials. See you in the next one.